Welcome to the Northwest Event Show 2025. First, I'd like to thank Interprify, who will be providing our closed caption. If you need that, it'll be up on the screen. You can also use the phone for 2 additional languages. We're excited because we're using some cool technology today to present the speakers. So you will be needing to use the headphones. If you want to adjust the volume, on the right-hand side, there's a volume rocker, and you can bring that up or down. So this is our tech that transforms how AI is revolutionizing events. And we have William Petz, CEO of Quiet Events. These are his headphones provided here. Mark Johnson, CEO of Swoogo. Oren Modlin, who is our Client Solutions Director with TPN. And the lovely Hillary Lane, Head of Professional Services with Swoogo. Welcome, everyone.
Thanks, Jimmy. Can you all hear me? How does this sound for everyone? So this is my first time speaking with headsets. So how many of you have done this before with headsets? Been in a session with them? So about half and half? Okay. I'm excited. I think this is going to be great. It's going to be a good conversation. Welcome. As Jimmy said, my name's Hillary Laney. I am head of professional services at Swoogo. I go by she, her pronouns. And on behalf of the panel and myself, I'm really excited to be here. Glad you all joined us this morning for this discussion about how AI can help to elevate events, make our work more efficient, and improve the attendee experience. So as you can see, we have 3 panelists up here. The way this is going to be structured, each presenter came with about 10, 15 minutes of content to present, and then we're going to open it up to all of you for some Q&A. I know we've got the headsets, and so I'm going to be walking around and letting you use the microphone to ask the questions so that everyone can hear you. All right, so with that, I'd like to get started. So, Will, excited to get going. If you want to take it over.
Sure. Hey, everyone, my name is Will. I have 15 minutes to tell you everything I know, so I'm going to talk really quick, but I will be at the booth over there. So, cool. So I'm going to give you a little tips and tricks on how to harness AI, especially for what you guys do, and hope you guys enjoy it. Here we go. Okay. Who thinks AI can take your job? Show of hands. No one. Interesting. Well, AI won't be able to take your job, but you know who will? The person next to you who knows how to use AI. So kids these days, they say, don't use AI, don't use AI. Totally wrong. Use AI, just use it to help you do more. So in AI, you can literally do everything. You can plan, organize, create, and even pitch to anyone. So who's this guy? Will Petz. So I'm an event planner for over 30 years, 26 years in technology specifically. I'm the CEO of Quiet Events. Actually, that's actually me, not that. That was created by AI. So I gave him that picture, and it literally made me with a suit and tie. So understand that you can leverage AI for image creation to be able to make you look better. Okay, this is a huge confusion. Most people don't understand the difference between AI and automation. So AI, artificial intelligence, kind of like your manager, the guy who thinks of the cool things. Automation is the doing, the actual worker. So when you're using AI, think of it as creating something that is much bigger than just doing. So it's not Google. There are basically 6 types, and this is a really boring slide, but just to go really quickly. So there's the NLP, I always get this confused. This is your Gemini, Copilot, ChatGPT, which most people use. Speech recognition, this is basically when you speak, it understands you, kind of like Interprify, which normally would work on this screen over here. Machine learning, which is a much deeper level of computers talking to each other. Computer vision, which I absolutely love. This is basically computers being able to detect if it's a package, if it's an apple, or what exactly you're looking at. So those that used Gemini, if you press and hold, you can take a picture of the thing that says courtyard and then be able to actually find that on Amazon and all these different places. Creative AI, this is creating images and other content. And then lastly, you have the autonomous systems, which is like Tesla and being able to do your robot cleaner that cleans your home. Okay, so let's get into it. Show of hands, how many people use AI today? Cool. How many people use AI that's not Siri or like Copilot or something like that? Little less, cool. This is the meat and potatoes of everything I'm going to talk about today, and this is super, super important. Rice, okay? Rice Q, never forget the Q. First, R, role. Define a role. So when you're using any type of AI, you need it to tell it how you want it to respond, how you want it to act. So for my father, who's getting medical things, when I want to ask ChatGPT or something, I say, act as a doctor. Or for you guys, act as an event professional. And the reason why is that there's this entire internet for it to find information. And when you say act as, it's going to start looking at medical things or event planner things. So you're telling ChatGPT where to specifically look. And also, the way it's going to respond back to you is in the terms of a doctor. Now, the next thing is give it clear instructions. So the RI, right? Instructions. What do you want it to do? I want you to bring back a list. I want you to bring back a chart. I want you to do something. Imagine having an actual assistant and you're telling it what you want. So if you give it better information, it's going to give you better results back. Next, set the context. A lot of people forget this. If you guys are running your own small business, once you tell it, I need back a list of events planners in this city or a list of locations or anything, tell it your business. I'm a small business doing this, and I need you to, I've been in business for 13 years, and I service this area and all this other stuff. And what I would recommend is copy and pasting that so you always have it available. And the reason why is it's going to make it so that the content always comes back specific to you and not general for everyone. Then you have examples. So tell it, I want it to look like this. I want it to look like a chart. I want it to have this. And the last one, like I said, Q, super, super important. Ask me questions. So again, this is not Google. This is not you search and you get information back. When you say, ask me questions, it'll come back with a list of 10, 20 questions like, what about this? How do you handle this? What do you think about this? And then you answer all those questions and then you'll get the answer that you want. So here's 3 examples that I find that I actually use as a virtual assistant. The first one here is Claude AI, and it does comparison charts really good. I didn't build that comparison chart. It did it. I said, tell me the virtual assistants that are out there. Tell me the pros and cons. I want it in something I can present to my manager. And here's an example, and I gave it a picture, and I said, build it just like this. And it did. This literally took 30 seconds, and that's something I can even hand to a manager or anyone I'm working with. The next one, and funny enough, last night I was at dinner, and the hotel person said, I'm looking for clients, I'm looking for stuff, and I was like, just use Copilot. I said, hey, give me a spreadsheet of the email, the location, the the telephone number, of all the locations near this zip code that has 500 people, that can fit 500 people, that's not over $6,000 budget. And it literally built that for me, right? And that is super, super powerful. I only have 15 minutes. I can then show you how you can take that and you can do cold calls in your voice to those people, so you don't even need to do that. But we only have 15 minutes. Then the next one, I hope everyone's using this for emails and outbound stuff. So give Gemini or any AI, I use Gemini for this one, a specific detail. I want to target these customers with this information, and it'll create and craft a beautiful email for you. Okay, this one I absolutely love. This is called Cove AI. This is like brain mapping. So anytime you have any project, so I moved from New York to Vegas, and I was like, tell me what I need to know to make this move. And it said, well, you need to change your postal code. You need to think about how to transport your cars. And then it creates this brain map. And then you can click on each one of those to expand it out even more. And it just helps you kind of plan, strategize. And it can even give you budgets and find information from all the different locations that you're going to. Super, super powerful. Okay, next thing is AI for images and videos. So the same way there was the rice queue, very similar. So descriptive prompts, when you're trying to create images, and don't use clip art anymore in PowerPoint, what you should absolutely be doing is creating your own for the client. So I, again, do these headphones, and when I pitch a zoo, I say, create an image of people having a great time with giraffes in a zoo at nighttime with some lights, and it'll create an image, and I can just send it to the client, and they're like, wow, that looks really cool. I can imagine it being in the zoo. So the same thing with you guys, you create the image that you want to show. Reference images, you can even create images next to it and say, hey, I want something to look similar to this. There are lots of different experiments to use on these different sites, and you can also tell it what not to use. Don't use this color, don't use this brand. Here's an example. So I basically said, hey, give me this really cool photo, realistic, which is spelt wrong, but again, doesn't make a difference because it understands, of a dog in a park, great, like just be creative, and it does it. So show of hands, who thinks the dog is cuter? Who thinks the cat is cuter? Yeah, I think the cat's cuter. But then I took the same image and said, all right, make it in a 90s cartoon style. And it literally did it again. So you guys can play with the images and keep doing stuff. See, the cat is much cuter. The last one is, I obviously did not build this PowerPoint. I had an app do it, right? It was AI. So what I just said is say, here's all my bullet points. Use the gamma.app. It created the entire thing with images. And if I didn't like an image, I can actually click on it and say, generate a better image that does this, does this, does this. So again, my time spending on this presentation, hopefully it doesn't look like it, was only a few hours, and that's because just preparing and stuff, but typically this would take days. Lastly, my favorite AI sites. So virtual assistants, Gemini, I happen to have an Android, so I use this on my phone all day long. When I'm on my computer, we use Microsoft, so we use Copilot. I find that it is really easy to integrate with Excel and other things. If you guys use Excel, but you're not experts in Excel, you can literally tell it what you want it to do, and it'll give you the formula. The next one is Creative AI, Canva.com. If you've never used it, super, super impressive to creating image and all that other stuff. It's just amazing. Microsoft Copilot also does images. Okay, here's a little tip. So online.inpixio.com, if you guys ever have images of your product and you want to erase the background, this does it. But then it puts a little thing in the corner that says, hey, buy this. So don't tell anyone, but if you download this Image Eye Chrome plugin, it will actually look at all the images, and you can actually click on the one that has your product without the logo. But don't tell anyone I told you. The next one is AI videos. Now, I don't do much in AI videos, but I have friends that do, and this is the ones that they've recommended. And some other really cool ones that I like. Anyone that has their own website, I highly recommend the Scrapy, I don't know how they say it. This will do a lot of things for you to understand how SEO works, and you'll just see there's so many things. I know, guys, I'm under 15, so Suno. This is super, super impressive. Literally, you can write, create a music in the style of 80s hip hop that is a person that does this, and it'll create a music thing for it. What I do for my clients is that if I know it's a birthday party, I'll put this person in, they're turning this in, this is where they live, and some information, and I send it to the client, and they absolutely love it. So again, be creative in how you can use that. Covai, I talked about, Gamma the same way. Speech Gen, if you don't think you have the best voice for video or anything, this will take your typing and turn it into the voice that you want to be. Super useful. And the last one is, powerful AI.tools. It's literally a website that has all these crazy tools that you guys can explore. So with that said, that is me. Thank you. Hopefully I did it under 15. Awesome. Thank you, guys. And if you have any other questions, I'll be here. I'll also be at the booth that has nothing because FedEx lost our stuff and we're waiting for it. Yeah, sucks.
Thank you so much, Will. That was a great presentation. Lots of tips. Can we give him a hand? I'm not sure if the decks are being posted somewhere. I know there was a lot of good tidbits and we've only got it on this one screen. So if you want a copy of the deck, my contact information is in the app. Just get a hold of me, Hillary Laney, and I'll get those to you. All right, so let's move on to our next presenter, Oren Malden. He is the Senior Director of Client Services at TPN, and he's going to be presenting to you about AI and events. He's coming from an agency perspective.
Yeah, thanks, Hillary. So I come from a full-service production, creative, and technology agency, and so today I want to talk or deep dive into some practical ways that AI can actually be utilized in the event services with our clients and at our events. But before I go in, I want to zoom out, kind of at a 30,000-foot level for the events. So I'm going to start with this statement on events at a 30,000-foot level, that AI our position on it is it amplifies human creativity, innovation, and it's unlocking new possibilities. When I say position, what I mean by this is that every agency really should have a position on AI and a code, and I'll speak more on a code later in this presentation. But really it kind of boils down, there's two camps, or there's kind of two positions on this topic of AI, and the first one is adopting new technologies regardless of human impact. Okay, doesn't matter, the technology's out there, we're going to adopt it. The second is people first, AI enabled, and that's the position that TPN takes in looking at AI solutions and implementing AI solutions in the event services that we offer. Our ultimate position is that AI cannot replace the core of human creativity. It can amplify it, it can help us do more, but it does not ultimately replace human ingenuity and creativity, which is at the heart of events and the heart of event services. All right. AI plus events. Clicking endnotes, I'm kind of old school.
Do you want me to click?
Yeah, that'd actually be great. And I just lost my mic back. All right. Well, now I lost my... There we go, too many things. See, AI does not help you do this. That's what I need it for. The idea stuff is good, but like no. What was that voice thing that you said you could just have it record? And yeah, we should have done that. All right, so I want to start with the statement, again, zooming out. TPN exists to create spaces and reasons for humans to connect. Our audiences crave in-person experiences. That was one of the highlights that came out of COVID. Now more than ever, in-person experiences are at an all-time demand. And AI can really help enhance those experiences. Next slide. Before I dive into the specifics of this, we create these spaces and reasons for people to connect. Events should be accessible and intelligent, and AI really helps us achieve those objectives. All right, so now I'm going to dive into the specifics of how AI can be utilized in events, and I'm kind of going to frame this in a before AI and after AI and the impacts and possibilities that are available with AI in events. So we'll go to the first slide. All right, captioning or subtitles. There's different phrases out there. There's some official terminology, but accessibility and captions at events, which I think are available at this event. Before AI, this had to be done manually by a human. It was costly, it was expensive. Honestly, because of that, it couldn't be implemented in a lot of events. Or if it was implemented, it was only offered on key points of content, like keynotes or high-level breakouts. When I first got into the event industry, I honestly only saw this service being implemented at some of the biggest tech conferences, because honestly, those were the companies and the type of events that had the budgets to provide those services. Now with AI, you can provide captioning services across all content on the events. It doesn't matter the content. One of the events that we do every year is CES. So we have AI captions going in all the sessions, and those same captions are going out on the live streams to the audience, so you're kind of killing two birds with one stone, and you're adding accessibility to everybody at the audience. Another thing this also does is, not only does it add accessibility for the hearing impaired, but for your international audiences with English as a second language. At one point in my life, I would have considered myself semi-fluent in Spanish. And to be honest with you, I could read a lot better than I can understand, and my ideal scenario would have been to hear what somebody was saying and to have captions accompany that, and that way my comprehension was that much greater as a second, Spanish being a second language for me. So this is one thing that AI is really helping with. It's adding that accessibility to that global audience and giving them the opportunity to comprehend and engage with the content at a scale and in a way that just wasn't available before. All right, so from captions, the natural place to go here is translations. Not only can AI now caption all the content in real time, the technology is at a place where it can offer translation services, both in room and for the on-demand and in record time. So again, CES, I'll reference that as an event where we utilize this technology. You can go in, scan a QR code. You have multiple languages. Before you might have had to have looked at, what interpreters do we have in this market? How can we get them? There was a delay. Hillary was telling me about a conference that she went to where there were interpreters, but there was like a delay and like sitting in the room, and now you could just get it right on your phone. And the AI is at a place where it's not just transcription word for word. The AI can be trained, and it is using language models to provide context. Honestly, depending on the services that you would use, I say a lot of these services are now in like the 97 to 99% accuracy rate. And again, going back to the scale, before all of this had to be done manually, and I will just say the elephant in the room, this is one area where AI did replace the human. But I will argue that before AI, these type of services were just not available to most of the events and the attendees. So it's really kind of claiming a space that wasn't really possible before, unless you were at like a certain budget level. So then moving on from translations, personalization. Before, session selection was based on assumptions. You had to do manual research, look at demographics. Attendees had a hard time finding content. Maybe you just had the session catalog online, and then you had to do a lot of the manual searching, and not very many options to personalize the event. Well, AI, and we all know we live our lives online, and there's so much more data that's available with that, is now allowing us to create personal experiences. AI can start feeding me session recommendations based on my profile and what I like and what content I might find interesting. One of the really cool things that AI is doing that we're actually starting to do with our customers is TPN records a lot of content at conferences and puts it online. And then we do the AI captioning and we have the transcript. Well, now we can take that transcript, run it through AI, get a session summary, and the top 10 reasons why you should go see that session, and then it can shipped out to the attendees. Hey, you might have missed the session, because we all know none of us are going to be able to go to every piece of content at this conference. But with AI, I could get a recommendation, tell me what the session's about based on my profile and my likes, and then it can give me the top 5 or 10 reasons why I maybe should go back and watch the recording. And that just, you could have done that before AI, but that would have been a manual job that somebody, and there's no way with this many sessions that somebody could have gotten those out, that would have taken weeks. Like that would have happened weeks after the event. This can now happen hours after the event. Well, kind of strike while the iron's hot, people are engaged, and get them to engage more with the content. And so the last, moving on from personalization, and Will touched on some of this, is design and concepting. Before AI, this was a manual process. If you had an RFP or you're working with a client, like we are a full service creative and production agency, so a lot of set design, a lot of booth design, experience design. As you work with a client, you have to mock up those designs, and the team has to pitch ideas back and forth with each other. AI now is a great tool that speeds up this process and allows you to work with so many more options than you previously could before. Like an example, I don't know if anybody remembers the Disney cartoon Sleeping Beauty, but like the two fairies get in the fight and they're like, make it blue, make it pink, make it blue. That's AI. Like you can start rendering a concept, see how the lighting, see how the colors look, and like, what would the chairs look like? Pink. Okay, yep, nope, not pink, blue. And that's where AI comes in. Somebody would have had to manually go in and play with those concepts and kind of flesh them out in order to make a decision. And then it also allows you to play with so many more ideas, which can help you get to the best ideas. But I do want to iterate that AI does not replace the creative and strategic process. It is helping you get to the ideas, helping you play with the ideas, explore more ideas, but it is not the strategy, it is not the true creative. So it's a partnership with AI to help you do more, but it is not saying that we're just gonna, dear ChatGPT, what is the best concept for the Northwest Event Show and what color should I use? It'll give you an answer. You could go with that, but that is, I don't think we'll get to the best conclusion. All right, so then just to close it out, there's a lot of tools out there, and we're kind of at the beginning of this. To kind of contextualize where I think we are with AI, some people consider that we're in the fourth revolution, the first being the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, then there was the second Industrial Revolution, which we are about 100 years from. That was the late 1800s to the 1920s, and we all kind of know what the world looked like at the end of that. And then the 90s, 2000s, and then we are now in the golden age of AI, where this is really exploding. It's touching all of our jobs and our experiences, and like it or not, like this is going to affect us. So I have 3 guidelines for using AI. The first 2 at TPN's agency, we have always utilized. These were in place before AI really became part of the topic. And the first is people first. We use AI to enhance human ingenuity, innovation, and creativity, not replace it. That goes back to when I was talking about design. Strategy-centric. Define your event strategy before choosing AI tools. There's so many out there. Define what you want to do, what you're trying to achieve, and then start looking for the tools that will help you get to that place. Now the last one might be kind of new. You might be familiar with this. Your company might be engaged in these conversations, and in my opinion, if they aren't, they will be soon, and that is code bound. What is your AI code? Every company is going to have to figure out where they stand on this, like I talked about earlier with the position of kind of AI at all costs. It doesn't matter what the human impact is, we're implementing it, we're just going to use it, or human-centered and using AI to assist and to elevate and to expand. I'm not going to, there's not a right or wrong to this, but that should be one of the first conversations that I think every company should be having, is what is your AI code of conduct or code of ethics, and then choose your AI solutions moving forward. So with that, if anybody wants to continue the conversation about AI, I know there's a lot going on, would love to continue that conversation about how to implement AI in your events, services that can be provided. And without further ado, I'll turn it to Mark.
Yeah, thank you so much, Oren. Let's give Oren a nice round of applause. It's great content. So we've got one more perspective up here. Mark Johnson, who is the Chief Business Officer at Swoogo, is going to be talking about AI, and he's coming from a product perspective and technology.
Thank you, Hillary. I'm assuming everybody can hear me well. Am I the headliner, by the way? Or are these the opening acts, and now I'm like the guy who's going to deliver the final punch that just brings it all together? So I'm the Chief Business Officer at Swoogo. For those of you who have not heard of Swoogo, Swoogo is an event technology platform. We primarily are known for registration, though we have 2 other tools in our toolkit that enables event planners to successfully build and execute events. So anybody who may have gone through the registration process for any event, like you did this one, that's a good example of what Swoogo would be involved with, though we're not doing this particular event. So before I begin, I have to tell you all a quick story. I'm going to go off script here just for a second. The last time, does anybody here watch The Price is Right? Anybody familiar with it? So the last time I was on stage, I was a contestant in The Price is Right. Yeah, true. It was the most surreal experience I've ever had in my life. So let me tell you something, though, that's really interesting. This is insider information that you're not going to get anywhere else. When you are up on that stage, you can't hear a thing anybody is saying, including Drew Carey, the host, who's talking to you, giving you instructions for the game that you're going to play. So, unfortunately, I was one of the first people called down to Contestants Row, and I was the first person, much to my chagrin, to actually bid correctly and get up on stage, right? So I won a patio furniture set, which was incredible because is there a better Price is Right prize? Well, maybe a car, but furniture, right? It's the classic, I will have this furniture, anybody who comes to my house is going to sit in the patio set, and it's going to be amazing. But unfortunately, I won. I didn't want to win. Oh yeah, good, perfect, yeah. I just need my badge. So I was brought up on stage, And I ran at Drew Carey, tried to scare him a little bit like I was going to jump into his arms because they hype you up before you even get up there. And he kind of recoiled a bit, and then I stopped. And anyway, that went on to my turn, and my prize was a trip to somewhere called Bonaire, right? That's what I had to bid on once I was up on stage. I'd never heard of Bonaire. And I couldn't hear about Bonaire because I couldn't hear anything that the announcer was saying. I heard him say something about flamingos. That was about it. So it was a game where you picked the second number in the price, and they gave you three choices. It was a 1, 5, or an 8. So it was like a $11,000 trip, a $15,000 trip, or $18,000 trip. And I was going to go with 5 because it was like in the middle, and I figured that's probably a safe place to be. And I look out in the audience, and I see my group of coworkers who I was there with, and they're all going like this. They're just doing this to me. So I'm like, well, okay, maybe they know something I don't. And I went with the 1. I said, Drew, that's got to be an $11,000 trip. And they pulled the number, and it was a 5. So that's how that went. Now look, here's how I'm going to tie it to AI. Afterwards, when this show aired, I told everybody that's actually not me. That's an AI rendering of Mark Johnson up on stage at The Price is Right. Now, had I won, maybe I would have claimed that that was me. Anyway, they could have used these things, Will. These headphones is the punchline. All right, look, I'm going to get to it. I don't have a lot to tell you other than what was said already, but Hillary, if somebody have a clicker that can go to... So yeah, the agenda quickly. I'm going to talk quickly about generative AI for content. I'm going to talk a little bit about automation and time savers, data and analytics and insights, and then finally agentic AI, which is, I think, sort of the most interesting part about what I'm going to say here today. But again, reminding you that I'm telling you this through the eyes of a company, an employee who builds event technology, right? So our whole audience are the individuals at organizations and companies who are actually planning and building the events. So that's my lens and that's my point of view. So I'm speaking to the event planner. By the way, how many people here use event technology in some way, shape, or form? Whether it be Swugo, Cvent, RainFocus, right? Yeah, so you're the folks I'm speaking to here today in particular. So if you could go to the next slide. We talked about this a little bit already, this concept of effective or efficient content creation. And you know, the cool thing about this is that you can use an AI tool to say, here's the audience I'm targeting, here's what I want them to learn, and really give a perspective about what you want them to walk away with when they're done viewing the content. And this content might be an email, a demand generation email to get people interested in your event. Or it could be a piece of content that describes a certain aspect or a certain piece of content will be delivered at the event itself. But it allows you to get really creative, and it's really a huge time saver. And then personalization at scale, you know, this is a really cool thing. So instead of this concept of, I'm going to create one message and I'm going to hope that this message appeals to everybody who is going to attend this event, right? Well, if you think about, Hillary told me about this example the other day about personalization at scale. McDonald's is a great example of this. They have content that they'll push out for the North American market. They'll have content that they'll push out for the Japanese market, European markets, and they all feel a little bit different, though they may still adhere to the core message of McDonald's. AI can help you do this for your event. So if it's an event for technologists, if it's an education event for marketers, whatever the case might be, you can really use AI to take a central message that your company really believes in and wants to get out there to the world and personalize it a little bit so it really resonates with the group that you're trying to speak to. So I think that's one of the really cool aspects as an event planner that you can think of using this for. Okay, we can go on to the next slide. Automation and time savers. Look, this is, I think, one of the holy grail pieces of what AI can do for you as an event planner, is thinking of ways that you can not replace people, but make people more efficient so they can focus on strategy and not on tasks. And I think really, if you think about the future of AI, and we're largely in control about how AI will be implemented and used at our companies, and quite frankly in the world. And if we focus our efforts on things that are going to save time, which allow us humans to do the things that we really enjoy most, which is to be creative, to interact, to collaborate, to have really meaningful interactions with people, using AI to save time on the workflows, for example, automate a repetitive task, registration, scheduling, things of that nature is really a cool way to do it. And then reduce repetitive work. I think that one speaks for itself. There's not much more I can say about it. And we'll have time for questions afterwards if you want to dig into this a little bit deeper. Hillary, if you can move to the next. All right, data analytics and insights. I often sit and I think about, why do people hold events, right? Why does a company, why does SWUGO have a booth here at the Northwest Event Show? One of the reasons that we have a booth is that we want to make connections with people who are interested in learning about our product, and then have ways that we can understand what is the most appropriate action I can take next to keep engaged with that customer, that prospect, whatever that might be. All of these booths that you see along here, they all have the same goal. They want to tell you about what they do. They want to provide a meaningful experience for you when you visit their property. And ultimately, they want to find a way that they can engage with you to see if they can be of service. You can use AI to help you do things like think about attendee behavior and optimize the result of them coming in. So, I'm an event planner. I'm putting on this trade show. We have this concept of lead scanning and lead retrievals. Anybody heard about this before? So if you go to a booth and somebody scans your badge, right? It allows them to then follow up with you directly and understand more aspects of why they stopped and where they're going and what they're doing. And this sounds a little creepy, but it's not. I promise you it's not. It's not insightful beyond anything about did you offer to have your badge scanned by me, and did you opt into being followed up? You can create, getting back to that automation and process concept, you can create ways that you can understand, well, what about this time of day at this property in this city was the most meaningful messaging that was in my booth, and what did people want to learn about when they talked to me? So having that information from past events can really help you guide decisions that you make for future events. And there's a lot to this, and if we had more time, we could dig into this at a much deeper level. But conceptually, that's what this is all about, and AI can help play a big role in that by helping you understand what are the insights that matter most. And using a tool, whether it be ChatGPT or whatever the case might be, to feed in some of that information so that it can help direct you to what you're looking to do. So at SWUGO, data analytics and insights, content creation, process workflows, efficient workflows are how we're thinking about deploying AI within our platform. And we have a lot of these features that'll be coming out. They're not out yet, so my CTO told me that I can't say anything about them, so I'm not, right? Other than to say we're thinking about it, wink, wink. We'll probably get there soon, wink, wink, and it's really important stuff, so I appreciate it. Now, and there's one last slide, and this is what I wanted to talk most about. How many of you have heard this concept, agentic AI, before? So some of us have. I think this is the most interesting part of how AI will help us in the future. So the concept of an agent, I think most of us understand. It's somebody who represents you or represents your company. It's a persona, it's somebody who can create on your behalf. Oren works for an agency, they can create on your behalf. So this concept of an extension of yourself. So think about this. You are going to put out a piece of content advertising something pertaining to your event. You're going to describe what you're going to be speaking about as it relates to the product your company has. There are many, many different points of view as to what matters in that content. You have a marketer's point of view. A marketer is going to ensure that it fits branding guidelines. It's going to make sure it has the right core messaging, right? Then you have a legal point of view to make sure that anything you're putting out there on any particular site meets all the legal guidelines that are put forth not only by your company, but generally accepted practices in the industry, right? So that person has a perspective. And then you have the product group and a product manager. They're going to have a very strong perspective about how they wish the product to be represented in this piece of content. So I'm giving you examples where you have disparate interests who are all pushing towards the same thing, is to put out the most meaningful, effective, compliant piece of content on a website advertising what's going to be coming up at this event. Well, with AI, agentic AI specifically, it's a little tricky to explain, but you can essentially create AI agents that represent your point of view to review every piece of content from your perspective using a language model. Is everybody familiar with language models in AI? So it's basically a collection of data that is pertinent when it searches for information and wants to spit you back results. So there are certain language models that are really good for corporate and finance. There are certain language models that are really excellent for content creation, marketing, etc. So it will reference your specific language model that's most applicable to what you are interested in and what you care about, and it'll run that content through that language model and then come back with its interpretation and its suggestions. So it'll do that for legal and compliance, it will do that for product, it will do that for marketing. And in the end, without you having to spend a whole ton of time on your own, it will contribute to that content from your perspective and your point of view. Therefore, again, allowing you more time to focus on the creative aspects, the interpersonal aspects, the results orientation of the work you're trying to do. So I think, really, I personally believe that this is where the magic of AI is truly going to happen, when we get to the point where agentic AI is part of our everyday work. And I'm excited to see it down the road. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Thanks for listening to my story about The Price is Right. If anybody has any questions about that experience, I'm certainly happy to answer. This was a lot less stressful than that was, because that was surreal. Anyhow, thank you, Hillary. Thank
you so much, Mark. Can we give Mark a round of applause? Awesome. Thanks to all of you for your presentation. So it looks like, I think we've got, about 20 minutes here, which is great. I came prepared with some questions if the audience doesn't have any, but I'm sure there's some out there that would like to be asked. we want to use the microphones. Thanks, Jimmy.
Hi, guys. Well, William, you hear me, William? I don't hear you, but I remember you said
there we go.
Giving clear instructions in the beginning. It reminds me of the genie, where you're like, you ask for the wish, but then you're like, no, this isn't what I meant.
The good thing about that, though, is you can keep asking it. You don't have 3 that you have to deal with.
And then you're stuck in a weird...
Yeah, and that's why it's really important, is clear to... It's, again, having an intern, right? And you tell the intern to do something, they come back to you, and they're like, that's not what I meant. So the AI is the exact same thing.
Awesome.
One thing I did not say is make sure you all say please and thank you, because I don't know what's going to happen in 10 years. So just make sure you do that.
Kind of in that same vein, when I put for creative into Copilot, I'm finding that it's spitting out weird words, or it's jumbled, or so forth. So if I say Orlando, it doesn't, have the A in Orlando or whatever. Is there a reason why that's happening to me? And then I spit it into Canva, and then, I'm kind of editing it on my own. Is there a better way?
So there could be a reason, and the reason could be, so if you have your own Copilot and it's under your account, and you keep spelling something incorrectly and you don't correct it, it may. That's one option, right? Just so everyone knows that, because it does learn from you as well, and it thinks, oh, well, that's the way my company's name. If you have a company Copilot, because there's also not just individual, but a company, they can also have the server have that as well. That's a possibility. What I'd recommend is try to use Gemini, try to do the exact same thing and see if you get the same results. If it doesn't, ask Copilot why you keep making this mistake when I write this, and see what it comes back with.
To answer your question, if you want the best model to actually execute on words, use ideogram and flux. Those will absolutely 100% put out image generation that actually has words that doesn't mess up the ideogram and flux. Flux, and then ideogram is ideogram. You're welcome.
Correct. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. So if you're sorry, I thought you're talking about image creation. There, I wouldn't use it for stuff like that, because it's not ideal for creating characters yet. It's getting there, but not perfect. There's a lot of other sites that will do better. Sorry.
All right. So I have a question about agentic AI, just because we talk about these concepts, and from a tactical deployment point of view, we're not there yet. There's a lot of cost associated with that. And I'm curious, for the everyday planner, everyday agency that struggles with just implementing AI from a privacy point of view and policy, it doesn't sound like we're anywhere close to agentic AI just because of the cost. Like Spark AI has deployed their agentic AI, and it costs only $10,000 a month. No agency or planner that I know has that kind of money to put behind something like that, just so that we can take advantage of this amazing technology that's coming down the pipeline. What is your vision when it comes to Sugo to deploy agentic AI in a technology that could be affordable? It's not just this extra feature that you're gonna have to pay another $10,000 just to be able to enjoy it.
Well, thanks for your question. Is it Anka?
It is Anka.
So Anka is doing like a hour session tomorrow on AI and knows more about AI in her pinky than I do in my entire body. But look, I'll try to answer that in that I don't have an answer for you yet. We're not there yet with agentic AI at Swoogo. We are at a point where we're being very thoughtful about integrating Swoogo into our core product and using it in a way that's super helpful for both the planner and the attendee in our app, for example, in the tool itself for the creation of content. But we've not touched agentic AI and probably won't do so until I don't have a time frame for it. But I do agree with you that it is something that hopefully, like many aspects of technology, comes down in cost over time. You know, the more widely deployed it is. But Swoogo has always been, I'm not going to say that we are a cheap solution, but relative to some other platforms, we are a value-based solution and try to have pricing that really appeals to our organizations. And I can't imagine us departing from that philosophical approach to what we do. But in short, we're not at a point where we are yet building agentic AI into our tool. But I think it's exciting to think about down the road, and having a knowledge of it up front and how it can ultimately help us all will be good. And I've seen a few examples of it in a few tools, and I walked away from the experience seeing a demo of it thinking, boy, they've really got to get that more human-oriented, more streamlined, and more effective, understandable, really, so that people can truly take advantage of it. Because right now, with the tools that I've seen, you have to have a certain level of expertise that surpasses far and above, in my opinion, what most of us planners would be thinking about. So I'm not sure if I answered your question, but there it is. Thank you.
You had mentioned the corporate code, and based on ethics and how you're using AI. I attended a workshop that was put on by a lawyer for a bunch of creatives. And, he said AI is just going to make lawyers more money. Of course, this is coming from a lawyer. But, what are your thoughts on that? Because, when you do grab information and you create these images or you create things, it's really taking other people's information and creative, right? So there's a fine line on doing that.
I don't have all the answers on that, but I know that this is, I think one of the best examples of this has actually been in like the entertainment industry recently. There was a lawsuit on day actors or day players on movie sets where they make their living literally by being background extras in films day after day. And then the technology is now at a place where they were getting their likeness, and then they can take that, pay them for the day once, and then with CGI and where AI and computers are, they can start doing background scenes with people that look like all of us and only pay you once. And there was a big lawsuit about it. I think this was part of the strike to protect artists and creative from having their work, whatever that is, because obviously if you put it out there, then there's that chance that it could be utilized or somebody else could start making a profit off of that. That's one example of where it made a lawyer a lot of money, or a set of lawyers a lot of money. And then there were laws and policy. Like I said, some people consider this the fourth revolution, going back all the way to the first industrial revolution. And we're at the beginning of it, so it is kind of no man's land. Like the rules are being made up. And there are different thoughts of it. I saw an article with a screenwriter the other day, or it was a producer who said if AI spits out a good idea for a concept, and he had real examples of where AI was giving good ideas, why not use it? But, is that ethical? And so that, every company is going to have those conversations about what are your values and then matching. And then I'm sure that we are going to see this play out in many legal scenarios. Hopefully, it goes back to what I was talking about, where it's just, mood boarding, or you're looking at colors and themes to play with concepts, and it's allowing you to do that much quicker and to get a feel for where your creative's going so you can make those decisions. You're not fully doing the render in AI and then trying to sell that, make a profit off it, especially if it's heavily pulling from work that's come before it. And that is a real thing with AI. I mean, it's data. And what's data? It's something that's happened in the past. It means there's something out there that it's pulling from that's helping it come to that conclusion.
I'll just add to that. I work with Oren. I'm head of the design and creative part, and this is one of the questions we actually had to address as we came up with our code is how are we using this? If we use it, as he said, for mood boarding, for design ideas, kind of like you used to search the internet for images and that would give you a spark of how you would iterate on that or something like that. But when we do use an AI generated image that we, if we're responding to an RFP or something like that, we need to do something quickly, we always identify that. And so that's part of the code that you have to come up with, I think. Yeah.
Check. On the flip side, 3 months ago, I used AI to create a board game with cards. All AI, all generated images of people, printed it out, had it all done within 3 weeks, and I was okay with it. So, you have to feel okay with yourself by doing that, because in my sense, there's a tool that I used that wasn't taken for someone else. I told it what to look like, how to be, so I felt like it was still my image that I thought of, just I didn't have to sketch it out.
Yeah, I want to just add to that, because I think it does tap into the human part of ourselves, where as we get more comfortable using these tools, I've even noticed it for myself. So it's been 2 years or, about since all this started to really pick up. And at first I was one of those massively resistant people. I was like, there is no way, I'm never using this. This is crazy. I'm going to start, if I do, it'll be years from now when everything's already been developed and proven. And I just slowly, through work mostly, was encouraged by my peers and managers to start dabbling with it because there are so many benefits. And I've noticed myself, I use it every single day. I am now at a point where I really don't even feel like I can be as productive if I'm not using AI as part of my job. So I think that humans naturally are going to evolve, and we're going to get more comfortable with this. So even if there is a resistance right now, I feel strongly that will continue to change and evolve, and regulation is happening and going to continue to happen. So the lawyers probably are going to make more money. Are there any other questions from the audience? We have a couple over here. Jimmy, do you want me to help you out, or are you getting your steps in? You're good?
Nothing to do.
Can you hear me? I think the mic is off. Check.
We're good.
3, 2, there you go.
Okay. I've been seeing more and more AI-generated content, a lot of which is garbage. And as that gets into the pool of large language models, how are we going to keep going forward with quality instead of going backwards based on AI-generated junk?
I don't know if I have an answer for that specifically, though. I've heard some people claim that AI is going to be the greatest catalyst for creativity. I've heard others claim that it's going to be the collapse of creativity. And I'm not sure where you all fall in that range of opinions. My hope is it's a catalyst, but I'm not entirely convinced that that's what will happen. I hope that we continue subscribing to the concept of originality and creativity and our own heart and soul in what we produce and what we make. I agree. This concept of a lot of crap created by AI, a lot of, I was flipped on the TV before I stepped out of the room this morning trying to catch the weather, and I saw some bit about this deep fake of Al Roker that was recently created, him pushing a product for hypertension, right? That stuff terrifies me, honestly, because, at some point it's going to be, for the average person, it's going to be very hard to distinguish what is. It's already difficult. It's only going to become more difficult as we move forward. So I'm not so much worried about the crap. I'm worried about the really good stuff that's disingenuous, that's going to be out there online, available for consumption, and how can we smartly discern what is real. And so if you all can figure that out, please, speak up, speak out, let everybody know. I think it's all incumbent upon us to remain very alert and very aware to anything that was generated by AI out there, because a lot of the purpose is noble, but a lot of the purpose of it is to deceive. So I'm just being, there is that dark side of this too. So let's all just be wary and cognizant of its utilization. Probably not a good answer, and Oren will give you the answer I think that you're going to look for here.
No, I think it goes back to that code of ethics that you actually personally, I think I was talking about businesses, but now that I'm kind of thinking through that, I think everybody here is going to have to get a personal stance on it, and then companies are also going to have to get a stance on it. Right now, like our stance is human first, human centric. There isn't anything that I would put out to a client or utilize without having humans work through it, evaluate it, make that decision, work with it to get it better. And honestly, I haven't been able to utilize AI. I mean, it's put out some really good stuff, but I have always had to tweak it. I have had to rewrite sentences or add something to it that it missed. Or, okay, great, got the idea this far, but okay, now what if I put this image about? I mean, there's 1,000 examples, but it's keeping that human review and human touch, and I think human evaluation in all technology. I mean, you could apply this over to social media. It's a big topic as well. And that's my best guess is how we're going to safeguard from the garbage and keep the quality up and eliminate, once we stop thinking, that's where the garbage will come in. We'll just let it go.
Don't be part of the problem. Learn how to leverage AI. If you don't know how to use it, then you're going to have crap come out.
I think we've got one more question here. Go ahead.
I have a hard time committing when it comes to creative content. So I found myself asking AI image generators 20 plus images before I finally land on one. There's also been a lot of conversation about how much water AI takes. How bad should I feel about how many images I've asked it to create and I only end up using, one out of a lot?
That's a personal, it's do you buy a Tesla or not, right? It's the same kind of thing. I take it as technology has to grow, and if you're going to use it correctly, we'll figure it out, and hopefully AI will figure it out. Don't worry, keep doing what you need to do so you don't put out crap.
Hey, Will, do you have a recommendation for her for an image tool, though, maybe? That's better if she instead of having to keep...
Yeah, so there, and I'm drawing a blank on the real one. The problem is that you have to pay for the really good ones. So the ones you're doing like Copilot, Gemini, you're not going to get the best, and I cannot recall off the top of my head. There are some really, really good image generators, but again, they're not expensive, but you have to pay. And then be very specific, right? And like I said, do the don'ts is also important. Don't just do the do's. Do the, I don't like this flares, I don't like this, I don't like that. Don't always tell it what to do, tell it what not to do.
All right, I think we're at time, everyone. Thank you so much for your participation, attending the session. Really appreciate it.
We do have one more special treat for you before you leave. Speaking of not generating AI crap, we have Mitz from Event Raps who has been listening to what the speakers have said.
Hi,
and
guys.
He's put together a little rap for you.
I wish I knew about all this before I did this on my phone. Drop the beat, DJ. Hi, guys. I'm from Event Wrap. We do recap tutorials and recaps of keynote speeches. You're going to see us running around freestyling as well. So I was a little fly on the wall in the back taking notes. So this is what I learned today. I am a real human. I am from Earth. Here we go. Yo, check it. Yo, hey yo, use AI to help you do more. It won't take your job, but can manage for sure. Plan, organize, increase your brilliance. Be one in a million. And thank you, William, cause using these tools feels like a magic wand. You can speak to it and how to respond. You'll give clear instructions for better results. Now, business is booming and you're checking the pulse. Lots of information and you know it's quite true. I'm Puerto Rican, I put beans on my rice cue. No clip art, you can try killer prompts like break dancing and graffiti from the Bronx. This is 90s hip hop with AI mixed in it. Will made sure to finish under 15 minutes. Intelligence, artillery, it's my soliloquy. Shouts to the moderator, Hillary. Amplify the human mind and creativity, which helps finish projects and delivery. We learned another thing, that is for certain. People are craving more events in person. Manual transcripts, word no stressing. You can get real-time captions for your sessions, increase accessibility for all of the attendees. It could help me with projects as an MC. If you're working with people from other nations, it can do wonders with language translations, personalizations. Every page I rhyme. It's cool and a great tool for stage design. 3 guidelines every time I speak a verse. Big ups to me, gente, cause you know people first. Strategy centric, be smart with the code. Apple pie is better when it's a la mode. Thank you, Oren, exploring on the mic. Mark Johnson was on the show, Price is Right. Generative AI for new generations, efficient with the vision for content creation, data analytics and insights. I've been nice. Learn AI soon before you're on thin ice. Instead of me typing rhymes on my phone, I could have used AI to transcribe my poems. And the flow is authentic, I'll make it agentic. Thank you for the panel talk, guys. It was tremendous. Thank you, guys. I'm really gonna figure out how to use AI next time. That's so that I can engage with you guys and stuff. Appreciate you, Event Wrap. Catch us later.
Thank you,
this
everybody.
Was awesome.
Thank you to DJ Adam. And thank you to Bring on the Night. Everybody have a good show. NWES 2025.